hello. If you're listening to this, thank you. But also, just a forewarning, our recorder cut out right at the very end of this audio. So if you notice that it cuts out very suddenly, that's why. It's basically just the outro stuff. Just listen, subscribe, all that goodness. But thank you everybody for listening. Now here's the rest of the regular episode. Hello, and welcome to Viva La Action, the action movie podcast where we talk about all things action movies, the good, the bad, and the underrated. My name is Santi, and with me as always is my co-host, the action movie themselves, Grayson.
It's me. Hello.
What's up?
Oh, not much. I'm just chilling.
Just chilling?
A little tired, but...
Chilling it?
Yeah.
Killing it?
Grilling it.
I like grilling.
I do like grilling.
I was grilling recently.
Oh, yeah?
And I discovered that grilling burgers takes a lot longer than you think it's going to.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a real thick burger.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I just assume a burger takes like 2 seconds and then it's done. I was sitting at that grill for a real long time. It was very hot outside.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, if you do it at the right temp, it's like 5 minutes aside.
Yeah, it didn't take that. It took longer than that. I don't know what I was doing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
We're not the Viva La Grilling podcast.
We got to make that. We got to make a podcast all about grilling.
That'd be fun.
That would be.
Spin-off podcast.
Yeah. Viva La Grilling.
I do have some, like if we ever get tired of this format, I have a couple of alternative titles for other genres we could burst into.
Oh, okay.
So, if we wanted to do like horror movies, we could be Viva La Spooky, right?
Yeah.
Or if we wanted to do like romance, we could be like Viva La Kissy.
I like it.
Or something along those lines. I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway, we're here to talk about action movies.
Yeah, we are.
You just folded your hands very seriously.
Yes.
We're about to have a very serious conversation.
No, we're not. This is a fun movie.
It's a fun movie with fun people.
Yeah.
With fun, silliness in it.
Yes.
And the movie we talked about this week is a little film called The Old Guard.
Bum-bum.
Bum bum.
Room clear!
My wife thinks that my cough, because I have kind of a chronic, like, tickle in my throat. My wife thinks that it's like a tick. Like, like it's like whenever I get kind of stressed out or like overly excited, I start coughing a little bit.
Yeah, it could be.
So if you hear some coughing, it just means I have a massive boner.
Yeah, it makes it really awkward at the doctors.
I am throbbing. They gotta, when they tell you to turn and cough, they gotta bat that thing out of the way.
They gotta push it aside like it's a curtain.
Yeah. It's like that. It makes the noise of like that thing that you use to stop the door.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, The Old Guard is a 2020 comic book action film directed by Gina Price Bythewood, with a script by Greg Rucka, who also wrote the original graphic novel that the movie's based on.
Nice.
We will talk about that. My dog is licking my knee. That was very distracting. Hi. The film, The Old Guard. It stars Charlize Theron as Andromache of Scythia,
Yeah.
Also known as Andy, with support from Kiki Lane, Marwan Kanzari, Luca Marinelli, Harry Melling, Nyo Tan Van, also known as Veronica Nyo, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. The Old Guard carries an impressive 80% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a 70% audience score. Yep, the rare audience critic flip.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know why.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it. Would you like to guess whether or not this film passes the Bechdel test?
I would say it does, but I'd be surprised if it doesn't.
It absolutely does.
Let's go.
Like many times over.
Yeah.
This is a flying example of it.
Yeah.
And it's a good source of representation for a lot of stuff that we'll talk about. And finally, in case you haven't yet Googled what this movie is about, the synopsis from IMDb: a covert team of immortal mercenaries is suddenly exposed and must now fight to keep their identity a secret, just as an unexpected new member is discovered.
Yep.
And that's my entire preamble.
Yeah.
So before we get into the rest of the film,
The nitty gritty.
the nitty gritty, before we hit the gritty with Gritty,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
That's shown up for Overwatch League competition.
Yeah. Do you know Gritty's origin?
I feel like I've been told it before, and then I blocked it out because it was weird.
So for anybody who doesn't know, so there's a U.S. based hockey team called the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah.
And they have a mascot named Gritty. And if you've never seen Gritty, just look him up on Google. You've probably seen him before. He's a giant orange thing.
Yeah.
With googly eyes and just like a wicked grin on his face.
Yeah.
And he's known for his aggressive antics.
Yep.
He has hurt children.
Yeah.
He's harassed people in public. He's just like a menace.
Yeah.
But his origin that is officially released by the team is something along the lines of he was living in the rafters of the old building, and then he had like a cave, an underground cave.
Of course he did.
When they tore down the Philadelphia Flyers arena and reopened it, he came out of hiding, and then it's something like he learned to talk from like an ornery old man or something, and that's why he's so grumpy. But anyway, that's Gritty.
That's wild.
But we're not talking about Gritty.
No.
It seems like we're always talking about Gritty.
I know.
He could be our mascot.
At Gritty, be our mascot, please. I've never been to Philadelphia, but we almost lived. Wait, is that right? Yeah, we almost lived in Philadelphia. My dad had 2 job offers. It was a lab in Philadelphia, and then one in Los Alamos. And so I almost lived in Philadelphia.
There you go. You could have been a Flyers fan.
I could have been.
I mean, you still can be.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping me.
Yeah, we don't have a hockey team, so
we don't.
You could.
Because we're the desert.
We are the desert. We used to have a minor league hockey team called the Scorpions.
Yeah.
Many a decade ago.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that didn't last.
No. Do you know we have an arena football team? The Gladiators.
What?
Yeah, they play like over here by my house at the
fuck?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did I not know about this?
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows about I don't know how many people are watching arena football.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're so far off topic.
We really are. I said Gritty once. And now we're talking about football.
What did you think of this movie?
I love this movie.
It's good.
This is like, I think the second or third time I've seen it. It's so fucking good.
It is very good.
I love it.
It is very, very good. I would say I watched it this time because I watched it when it very first came out. I think it was like the day it came out or the day after, because it came out in the middle of COVID. It came out like, I'm trying to remember. It was like May of 2020 or something like that. So I was locked down. I didn't have anything to do. And I watched it, loved it. So it's kind of always been in the back of my head. When I watched it this time, I did still love it. But I found like a couple of things to sort of nitpick, which is like kind of the point of something like this. But overall, it is incredible. It's a very good movie.
Yeah.
And would you like to tell everyone why we chose this movie?
Yes. So we're recording this. We're still in June. It's
technically, yes.
Technically, it's June.
We have
29th.
1 day left.
Yeah, it's June. We're really cutting it in on the wire here.
Yeah.
It's June 29th, and June is Pride Month.
Pride Month.
And so I was like desperately trying to like think of a movie, like an action movie that we could do for Pride Month, and I was like, oh, I know, I got the perfect one, The Old Guard, because two of the characters, Nikki and I forget his name.
He goes by Joe.
Joe, yeah. They're in love.
Yes.
Grossly, disgustingly in love.
Yes, they are.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, and something I alluded to earlier is that I think that's why this movie has a slightly lower audience score is because the movie itself is so solid, like as an action movie. I have my nitpicks that I'll get into later, but like the foundation of it is so strong. It's just a fucking good action movie. The action is solid. The story is like quick. It moves at a pace. It tells a good story. You're never lost.
Nope.
But it does have very, very, very like maybe the most blatant queer representation that I've ever seen in like a mainstream action movie.
Yeah.
And I think there are people who are like turned off by that.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are little baby pussies who are turned off by that.
There you go. Yeah.
Because there's a scene, which is, I guess is kind of a spoiler, where two men kiss on screen.
Oh, no.
And you so rarely see that in like mainstream Hollywood, you know, whatever. And I read a couple of reviews. To be fair, the ones I read were mostly like on Rotten Tomatoes and on IMDb. For the most part, most people didn't seem to have an issue with that. Yeah. You read one or two where it's like, this is just Hollywood's gone woke again.
Sure it has,
sure,
buddy.
man. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think... But I also think if you are somebody who... this is a tiny rant that I'm not going to go into for too long, but if you are somebody who hates, like, woke stuff in the sense that you don't like when things are shoehorned in, right? You don't enjoy this idea of, like, oh, this character is, you know, whatever, but it feels tacked on, or it feels whatever. I understand that. I don't like when a movie or whatever, it feels like they're touting it, but also not doing any real storytelling with it. Yeah. That can bug me. Like, like a good example is in Star Wars... The Rise of Skywalker. Two women kiss on screen at the very end, and it goes for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it. And they're such cowards at Disney that they cut it out of all the international releases. It's like that bugs me because you put it in there just to say you put it in there, not to actually do any sort of, you know, good work. Whereas with this, the queer romance is not just tacked on, it is central to those characters. Yes. Right? Like, it creates an interesting backstory, because again, kind of a spoiler for the rest of the movie, those two characters are not just in love, their backstory is that they killed each other a bunch of times over the centuries and then figured out that they were actually in love, which is just a great, like, even if they were a man and a woman, that would still be an amazing love story. Like, it's hilarious. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's like, the point I'm trying to make is, even if you're bugged by woke, in the sense that you don't like that, you should like this, because it's not that. It's a good representation of that.
Fantastic representation. And yeah, there's like a great... I think it's one of... I think it's Joe or Nick. I can't remember which one. But they're like... They get captured or whatever. And he has just like the greatest... like mushiest like monologue ever, and it's like the thing about this relationship is that like a lot of the times when we see like queer representation, it's like they really kind of only focus on the sexual aspect of it and not like the romantic part of it. And in this, like they have a good balance of both, right? And it's just, it feels very natural. Like those two actors did a bang up job. Like,
They
it was
did.
so good.
Yeah, and I think I want to talk about that scene more. So what I think from here, we'll go into spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Because I want to get I like this movie so much, and I want to talk about like the details of it.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this: for me, 1000% recommend it.
100%.
You can't go wrong with it.
No.
It's just a good movie.
It's a fantastic, good, fun time.
It is a good fun time. If you're looking for something to satiate that end of Pride appetite,
There you go. Well, it's funny. This episode's not even going to come out in June.
no. If you want to fulfill your wrath from
There
Wrath
you go.
Month,
Yeah.
which I think is what they call July,
Yeah.
then here you go.
There it is.
So one thing, like I said at the start, this movie is based on a comic book.
Yes.
So it's a series that was called The Old Guard. It was written by an author named Greg Rucka. Now it's important to note, at least for me, I don't know why I feel like noting this. Greg Rucka is straight, so
Okay.
he has a wife, but the queer romance that's in the movie is in the comic book.
Nice.
Like
Okay.
that is something that is central to the story.
Nice.
And that scene that you're talking about, where the two characters get captured, and the soldier's like, "What is that, your boyfriend or whatever?"
Yeah.
And he gives this great, involved speech about love and whatever. That's in the comic book, right?
Oh, wow. Nice.
And when Greg Rucka was originally selling the rights to make the movie, it was stipulated in his contract that the only way you could adapt the film is if you included that scene.
Oh, good.
So it was like, that just goes to show you that is so central to the theme of the movie that it's like
it was a deal breaker.
it was literally a deal breaker.
Hey, shout out Greg Rucko.
Yeah. He seems like a legit dude. Like, just everything I read about him, he just seems super cool, and like he's written some stuff that is not my favorite. Like, he wrote this Gal Gadot movie that I think is terrible, but this is amazing. I think the writing on it is really solid. Mm-hmm. I think the idea is really cool.
Oh, it's so cool.
And one thing I like is that, taking it all the way back to the beginning of the movie, if you went into this not knowing the twist, essentially, like, if you didn't know that these characters, which, again, if you're listening to this, you're okay with things being spoiled.
Yeah.
If you don't know that these characters are immortal, there is a really cool sort of build up to that reveal, and they kind of lay little hints. Like, I really like, I was noticing it this time. We see the team come together, and you're kind of like, oh, these are old, like, war buddies or something. And then when they're first, like, on their way to the job that they're hired for, they throw little hints about these characters. Like, one of them, is like praying in Italian. One of them has like this really ancient, like, axe, like battle axe. And then the one that stuck out to me, one of the characters, I think, is Nicky. He's got like a Crusades era sword with him.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you didn't know the twist of this movie, those would be really good hints as to like where it's going.
Yep.
Because you would look at that and be like, oh, that's weird. I wonder why he has that.
yeah. It turns out, he probably just bought it from a guy during the Crusades.
Yeah. He's just had it. That's just his sword.
When I first watched this, because it opens up with them all dying.
Right.
They like get like uber gunned down.
Oh, yeah.
Like
super shot.
30 bullets apiece. But then it like cuts before, because it like the, I don't want to say that she's the main character, but she's like the leader of this group.
Yeah.
She goes by Andy, and she's like old.
Yeah,
we never actually, I don't think we ever really know how old she really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so there's like this voiceover. It's her voice, and she's like talking. They get gunned down, and then it cuts. And then we kind of start back at the beginning, leading up to them getting gunned down, and then we continue from where it cut. And when I remember when I first watched it, I was like, as they're like starting to like move again and like get up, I was like, oh fuck. It was like one of those like, oh, these guys really messed up.
Yeah.
Like they go to work.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think one of the strengths of this movie is that for me the action is kind of like, it's like the steak you get at a pub.
Yeah.
You know, it's no fuss,
Yeah.
no muss. You know, it's like they're not doing anything super fancy with the choreography or anything.
Nope.
But it's just damn good, like
so good.
solid action. Like it's shot well. It's not too shaky. They let you see enough of it.
Yep.
It's creative enough. Like there's no like, you know, I hate to always bring it back to John Wick, but
I was gonna say
it's not that. It's more, I don't want to say basic. It's more meat and potatoes than that, I guess.
It's there are a few things that they do that remind me of John Wick, but it is, they're very efficient.
Yes.
Like John Wick, he tends to flourish a little bit.
Yeah.
And the fights, and this could just be a whatever, but the fights for John Wick, they tend to be a little bit more drawn out.
Right.
And then, but when you watch this movie, like a lot of times they'll only shoot like one bullet, right? And that does it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a single shot between the eyes and that's it. Or they'll like shoot and then use their axe or their sword or whatever, which I think is really cool. We don't see a lot of movies where we get like heavy like sword and axe usage.
Yeah.
In like set in the modern day.
Right.
Because like obviously there's Lord of the Rings, but that doesn't count.
No.
And it's again, it's efficient because I think what they're trying to show is that these people have been killing for millennia.
Yeah.
And they've just honed their skills and they're very good at what they do.
Yeah. One, I think even the way it's shot is very different insofar as the John Wick movies and all of their clones, their trick is, really complex choreography shot very clearly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we think about something like Nobody, right? Like the bus fight,
Oh, yeah.
It's one shot more or less with clearly the main actor doing all the choreography. This is not that. It's a lot more of you see one or two beats and then it cuts and then it's another. But I think a function of that is there are multiple characters.
Yeah.
You're not just focusing in on one person. But this isn't like an insult. It is a good version of that. Like it's very reminiscent to me of like 90s action movies where it's like, you see somebody shooting and then you see who they shot, which is, again, it's not bad. It's a good version of that. They do a lot with the editing and with the pacing that it feels quick and brutal and fun. And it's like, and they do a lot of creativity with, these characters can't die more or less.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun moments where somebody will get stabbed, and then they just are like, really, and then just kind of carry on.
Yeah.
Or there's even a fun sequence towards the end where they're using themselves as shields, right?
Yeah.
Because again, spoiler, Andy at the end of the movie it's revealed that she may have lost her immortality.
Yep.
And so the other characters are like, well, I didn't, so they're just like jumping in front of bullets, right? Like. That is fun to me.
Yeah.
One thing I do like about this movie too is I like how it kind of explores like what being that old does to a person.
Yeah.
Right? Like for somebody like Andy, who's the oldest one, everything to her is kind of just nothing. Because she's like, whatever. Like,
I'm going to see this grow old and die, and I'm going to continue.
Right, like, because she does have this guilt and, whatever, but at the end of it, too, she's also kind of like, it's water off a duck's back. She's like, whatever. Whereas sort of the second youngest one, not the one that we meet in the movie, but the one who we learned was just the last one, he is, like, still grappling with, the loneliness and the impending, like, centuries he's gonna have to live, and the
Booker?
guilt. The one who was in the French Revolution or whatever.
Okay,
or the one who was with Napoleon's army.
Booker.
He's the one who's like, he can't deal because he's had enough experience to know like this shit sucks, but he's also not old enough that it's not anything to him anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. Like you see kind of all these phases of what it's like to grow old like that.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. Well, and then when we meet the newest one. Niall.
Yeah.
It's this like it's so hard for her to grasp what is happening to her or like what she is.
Right.
And it takes a couple of like it takes like Andy literally blowing her brains out
Yeah.
for her to go, this is really fucking happening to me. And
Yeah.
Andy like, yes. Can we please get moving?
Right. Yeah.
But towards the end, I think Niall, because Niall she's a Marine, and so just from the get go, she's a soldier.
Yeah.
And she picks up on it really quick and just sort of accepts, like, all right, fine.
Right.
This is who I am. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And she learns really quick. I think my favorite part is at the very end when she goes through the window with that guy.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh.
That's a great moment.
That was so good.
One second. I'm gonna let the dog out so he can go eat dinner.
Yeah.
Pausing the podcast.
Pausing. Just play like intermission music.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tequila. Come on, Neil. Or jump the gate.
Y'all gotta get a taller gate.
I don't know. He's insane.
Although he'd probably learn how to jump that too.
Yeah, he would.
He's just gonna become like an Olympic like high jumper.
Yeah. Well, that's what his breed was bred for.
Just jumping shit.
Jumping on the backs of sheep.
Oh.
To herd them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll do it.
So, that's why he's got hops.
Hell yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that part. It's so funny because there's at the beginning when Andy goes to get Niall because they all have this dream about Niall because they're in this like little village in Afghanistan and Niall gets her throat cut but then heals from it.
Yeah.
And I guess if there's like a new one born or a new one that comes into existence and they die for the first time, anybody else who is of the same like who has the same like immortality, they have a dream and be like, okay, we gotta go look for this person. And so Andy like goes to find her, and they end up on like a smuggler's plane.
Yeah.
And Andy like gone to sleep, and Niall like hijacked everything, and it was that like speaking Russian deal.
Oh yeah.
Where she like tells the pilot to play dead.
Yeah.
And then gets the upper hand or whatever. At the end, they're up against like the big bad of the movie. I forget his name, but he's a bitch.
He's Harry Potter's cousin in the Harry Potter movies.
Neville or Dudley?
Dudley, yes.
That's Dudley?
Yes. Yeah. Dudley Dursley.
That's why he looks so familiar.
Yes, he looks very different because he's an adult now.
Yeah.
And he's skinny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's him.
Wow.
I know. Still playing a villain.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, they kind of do the same thing because on the plane, Andy asks Niles, "You don't speak Russian, do you?"
Yeah.
And then at the end, she's like, "Hey, Niall, you think he speaks Russian?" Kind of like you know what to do.
Yeah.
And then just grabs him and jumps out
the window. It's pretty good.
So good.
What was I going to say? Oh, so casting your mind back a little bit. When you watched this for the first time,
yeah,
did you call that Booker was going to betray them?
No.
Really? Okay.
I had no idea. When that happened, I was shocked.
Oh, okay.
I was a little bummed too, because I was like, up until that point, I liked Booker.
See, I think the first time I called it the first time, and that's not me being like a brag or whatever. It's just like
good.
I remember watching it the first time and being like, oh, it's him. Like, you know, just because they kind of sow the seeds, I guess sort of subtly, but it's like, you know, usually movie language, and if you don't want movies to be ruined for you forever, stop listening. But usually in movies, a good key that somebody's like betrayed somebody is if they live while other characters die, but we don't see that happen. Like, if we only see their explanation and not the actual event, that's usually a good key to you that this person's lying. It's just kind of movie language. It's like
interesting.
Yeah, so it's like in this movie, like when Nikki and Joe get captured, we see Booker there, and he's got, you know, this big gash in him.
Yeah.
And then he, you know, kind of comes to. He tells them, "Oh, I don't remember what happened. I just saw this thing."
Yeah.
But we don't see it happen.
Actually,
we see his recollection of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, it's him.
It's him." Yeah. No, that's fair. And see, yeah, as somebody who's not like a movie buff or anything, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I genuinely was like, oh yeah, that sucks. You know, grenade comes in, he gets knocked unconscious, and they haul the other two off.
Yeah.
Why I didn't go, I wonder why they didn't grab him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, see, because then too, it calls into question the idea of like, yeah, why didn't they grab him? But also, if he was working for the other guys or whatever, why didn't he just tell them where they were?
Yeah.
Like right away?
Literally.
I mean, there's a little bit of a plot hole there, but it's not really, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it does lead to that great scene where Andy kills everybody in that church, so.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, you take what you can get.
Yeah. Andy's a fucking menace.
Charlize Theron, who plays Andy, I think if they were to make an action movie Hall of Fame, she's in there.
She's got to be
right in there with Arnold and Sly and everybody. Like, put her. She's top 5. Like, literally between Mad Max and Atomic Blonde and this movie, and just everything she's been in. It's like,
it's so good,
and she's so believable as that character.
Yeah.
Like, she's got that tired, you know, just fed up look in her eye.
Yeah. She looks like she is older than she can remember.
Yeah. Which I think, so in the comic book, they don't say it in the movie. They kind of dodge how old she is. In the comic, she's said to be over 6,000 years old. Cool. So she's like, because Scythia was a kingdom, I think it was in like the Carpathian Mountains. In like, what is it? Like 4,000 BC or something. Wow. So that's kind of where she, you know, originated.
Yeah.
The one thing I also like about this movie is, and I guess it's a function of the comic book, they never tell you why.
Yeah.
Like, there's hints at that, oh, you know, it could be because they all do good and whatever. But they don't tell you, like, is it aliens? Is it magic? Is it God? Is it what? Like, it's just kind of left open.
Yeah.
But there's like little hints of like, you know, like there's only a certain number of them apparently, because as soon as one appears, one loses their immortality. There's hints at like, for some reason, they're all warriors. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Andy was a warrior, and then she met Quinn, who was also a warrior. And then, you know, the two guys were warriors in the Crusades, and Booker was in Napoleon's army. Niall was a Marine. Like, they all kind of have this military background.
Yeah.
So there's like little hints about like what it is.
Yeah.
But they never tell you like, oh, it's aliens. You know? Because I think that's less interesting.
Yeah.
Than like imagining what it could be.
Yeah. I think for me, I would love it. And like, I'm not a religious person in any sort of sense. I didn't like, the only church that I went to growing up was the Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm not Catholic. I don't believe in God or anything. But I think it'd be really cool for this if they were like, if it was like a god thing.
Yeah. I
think that would be interesting.
I haven't read the comic.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 collected editions. So there's like volume 1, volume 2, and then there's a third one, but I think the third one is like an anthology thing, and it details individual stories about each of them.
Oh, gotcha.
But there is a sequel to this movie that's supposed to come out. Yes. So, well, here's the thing. So it was shot in 2022.
Okay.
It was completed, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look it up on like Netflix's website or whatever, it still says it's due this year, but there's no release date. Like there's no like whatever. So either they're still working on post-production, or it's due for like some sort of reshoot, and they just haven't scheduled it, or who knows? It could be any number of things, but it is technically shot. Okay. Because the reveal at the end of this movie, so they tell a little story midway through of Andy's the first immortal she ever met, who is this woman named Quinn, who is an actress we've met before.
That's right.
Her name is Nho Tan Van. Nho Tan Van. Yes, she is the lead actress in Fury.
That's right.
Yes. Which, if you haven't seen Fury, go back, listen to that episode, and go watch Fury. I think it's still available on Netflix. It's fucking amazing.
It's a banger movie.
She plays Quinn, which, fun fact, in the comic, Quinn is a character named Moriko.
Oh.
Moriko? Something like that. In the comic, she's Japanese. But Nho Tan Van is Vietnamese.
Right.
So Greg Rucka, when he was writing the screenplay, he was like, she'll be Vietnamese.
There you go.
Because he was like, I'm not going to make her play, whatever.
Yeah.
Which, again, just speaks to the fact that he seems like a cool guy. I don't know. So that's why when we see Quinn, she's like got sort of like traditional, like ancient Vietnamese garb.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's revealed in the movie that she was captured during the witch trials and forced to wear like an Iron Maiden, and then she was dropped to the bottom of the ocean, which is fucking horrifying.
It's terrible.
Because of her immortality, she's forced to drown, die, and then come back and just keep doing that. But it's revealed at the end of the film that she's actually lived somehow. Like, she survived that.
Yeah.
And she's back.
Yeah.
And she's crazy.
She's straight up cuckoo insane.
So it's kind of implied that she's the villain in the next one.
Yeah.
Which is fun, because that means that they get to fight another immortal.
Yeah. And 2 immortals fighting. That's going to be... Ooh.
And it's kind of implied that she's either there to kill Booker, or she's there to be like... Recruit him. Yeah. We don't know. But I do think... I think I read that she's on the cast list for the next one.
Nice.
So most likely she'll be playing that character again.
Yeah.
But that too is a great. In my head, that's a great. I mean, even though it's horrifying,
it's terrible.
That's a really cool idea. The idea of like, how do you torture somebody who can't die?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
You just have them die over and over.
Yeah, again. It's pretty. And that image is horrifying. I remember the first time I watched that gave me like an existential crisis.
Yeah. No, it's because they. Shout out to the props guys, because holy shit, that Iron Maiden thing that they built.
Yeah.
They must have had like looked up like original schematics for those things, because that thing was terrifying. It haunts me.
It's pretty scary looking.
And then we do get a terrifying shot of her drowning and dying.
Yeah.
In the
it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Worst nightmare.
Yeah. So one thing. So I'm gonna get into something controversial.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not. These are my 2 criticisms for this movie.
Yeah.
And they're minor. I guess you could call them nitpicks, but
meh.
My first one is the soundtrack is atrocious.
It's okay. There's a couple of songs that I like, but other than that, yeah, it's like meh.
It's really generic, like sort of pop music. Yeah. Like, it sounds like music that could be on the radio, but isn't. Like, it's like, and it's real on the nose, which bugs me. Like there's a scene where they're all marching to whatever, and the song is like, never gonna die, not gonna die, we don't die.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
And it's not good music. Like, it's not creative. Like, there's no, like, moment where you're like, oh, that's an interesting choice. It's just all very on the nose, like, which, again, it doesn't really matter, but it is, like, a thing. Like, it's just, like, I just don't like the music in it. It's just not good. My other criticism is that I don't like the cinematography very much.
Really?
I think it's just bland. And it's not bad, but it's also not interesting.
Yeah.
It's very flatly shot.
Yeah.
There's a couple of scenes that are pretty dark that I'm like, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
I think the editing and the fight choreography are good. I just think the way the movie looks is bland. Which is, it's clear. I mean, it's not badly shot. It's just not interestingly shot. I guess.
No, that's fair. I can understand that. See, for me, since I don't have that kind of critical eye, I'm just like, for me, it has to be really bad for me to notice it.
Right.
And I didn't really notice it. The music I did a little bit. The cinematography I was like okay with.
It's just, I think for me, I always get a little bit like when movies are shot like overly groundedly, I guess, in the sense that, if a bunch of characters are in a cave and they're using a candle, well, we can only shoot this like we're in a cave with a candle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like when directors and cinematographers rely overly on, well, every light source has to be coming from within the scene.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a scene being well and creatively lit, even if it doesn't make sense for the environment. Like, movies can do that because that's, it's not real.
Yeah.
But,
well, and they have done that.
Yeah.
Battle of Helm's Deep. I know we've said it before. Yeah. It's like that battle is like the pinnacle, and it's so textbook, and every movie should do that.
Yeah.
Because you have thousands of orcs, it's nighttime and raining, but you can see everything.
Right.
And it's so good.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not that the movie's shot, it's just flat. It just feels like a good example is like when they're in, they're all captured and they're in the hospital.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they went, hey, it's this evil hospital. Yeah. Let's, put a light over here to reflect whatever, and let's make it neon or what. Which again, I don't need it to be whatever, but it feels like that set could have been plucked straight from ER or Grey's Anatomy or something. Like, it's too bright and just like flat, and it just doesn't do anything for me.
I will say that whole like research hospital center. Yeah, it was. I understand what you're saying. I didn't really like it. I think if I like looking back, that is the one like scene or like set that I was like, pick a color. Yeah. That's not white.
Well, I think part of it too is that the movie does itself a disservice by opening it in Morocco, right?
That's true.
Or Monaco or wherever they are.
Yeah.
Where it's like you've got these beautiful, like brown, rich colors and this cool architecture, and it's like they're in this market and there's all these people, and then we finish it at Presbyterian Hospital. It's like it kind of is like
I know we went from these like picturesque, beautiful places to London.
Yeah,
literally kill yourself.
To downtown London. Yeah,
like ugh.
Which like London can be interesting in and of itself, but not the part that looks like Chicago, like or fucking downtown Gary, Indiana, or something. Like it's just like, it's just that setting itself is not interesting, and it's not shot interestingly.
It's no,
which is like it's kind of a nothing criticism to be like you didn't do it as interesting as you could have done it, but it's also like it's something to nitpick. It's just In a different film, they would have done it differently. Yes. Not necessarily better, but
just
different.
Like I said, pick a color. Just pick any fucking color.
Yeah.
It would add something.
Yeah. Like
and not red because everybody's bleeding. Pick a different color.
Right. Like it's just because that's the thing too is like for me if a movie is going to have its final scene be in a white setting, there should be buckets of blood.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a good amount of blood in this, but it's not over the top insane blood, which if you're going to put them in a white room, it should be over the top insane amounts of blood.
It should go from a white room to a red room.
Yeah, it should be like the Blood Raven Blade. Like it's just, that's what I want out of something like that. Not just, like
little splurts here and there.
Which on the flip side, I will say on this movie's favor, I think the CGI is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, I don't notice it.
Yeah.
Which is a credit to it. Because I've seen some Netflix movies with some bad fucking CGI.
Yeah. It's hard for me to notice any CGI. It has to be like... It has to be like a high schooler film project.
Yeah.
With like the shittiest green screen you've ever seen for me to notice.
Or Expect No Mercy.
You shut your mouth about that movie.
That was a good movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it was fun. I had fun watching it.
It was it was there. It was something we watched. Yeah, I love this movie because I want to know more. I want to know more history. I want to know their backstories. And I want to hear them tell stories of their life. It's like the few that we get, they're so good.
Oh yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, I think this works really well as a movie, but I think it also could have benefited from being a series where we get to know a little bit more about each of them, right?
Yeah.
Like what they did throughout their lives.
Yeah.
Which you'd have to do as a series because it would be fucking expensive.
Oh god. Yeah.
And it would be a 4-hour movie. So you just can't do it as a movie, but I like the movie that they made,
Yeah.
I think if you're going to just make one movie, this is the story you tell, because it's like it's an interesting, and it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even if we never get a sequel, I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah. I will say, because, Booker portrays them, and then at the end, they're at this, little seaside restaurant thing or whatever, and they're, debating on what Booker's punishment should be. And it's kind of rough.
Yeah.
Because they say, for 100 years you are going to be alone.
Right.
Which is awful.
Yeah.
Especially for people like this, especially for Booker, who, like you were saying earlier, is still trying to grasp and grapple with all this.
Right.
And we do see a 6-month later thing where he then meets up with
Quinn.
And man, I want a sequel so bad.
I know.
I would be okay if we didn't get a sequel.
Right.
But man, the way that they left it,
I know.
I want it.
Give it. Yeah, it's compelling. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I do think though. Maybe this is just me as a person. I'm like, when they told him his punishment, I was like, no, it's not that bad.
That's true. I mean, on the flip side, 100 years to them, that's nothing.
Well, I mean, but you also have to think relative, right? 100 years to him is a lot, right? Because that's half his life at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
But to Andy, which it is, because she doesn't have her immortality anymore, she will die before they meet again.
Yeah.
But on the scale of her life, that would be nothing.
Yeah.
That's 6 months to her.
Yeah.
So I did think it was kind of funny. They're like, we will meet again in 100 years. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I could do that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, I think, and to be fair, he said, I expected much more, and
yeah.
I think part of me also expected more. I was like expecting like 1,000 years or something.
I thought they were gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna chop your dick off, and we're just gonna keep chopping it. One thing. So here, I don't know if it's like I'm thinking too hard about it.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't do.
Oh yeah.
But my thing is this, right? Like, because they all make a big deal about like, well, we can't have relationships because of whatever. I'd be like, you know what I would do? Like, if I was that dude, I would just be like, I'd go to an area and I'd be cool with like a couple of people for 5 years, right?
Yep.
You can conceivably get away with 5 years and not look like you've aged.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, I got to move back to wherever.
Right.
And then just go be somewhere else.
That's true.
You do that 20 times and your 100 years is up. And then you're fine.
Yeah. That's actually really smart.
Yeah. You just like hang out with a couple of different dudes for a while. Yeah. And then, you just don't repeat the area, right?
Yeah.
You can do that enough times. You're like, oh, I'm in Iowa. And then I'm in Arkansas or whatever.
Yeah.
Those aren't that far. I meant to say, like, I don't know. How come I only named 2 states? You're in Arkansas and then you're in Montenegro. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? You're probably not going to meet the same people.
Yeah, no. And again, you have like over 100 countries.
Yeah.
Right? Just choose 20 of them.
Right. Also, what's to stop any of them from just putting on old man makeup,
Exactly.
Just getting wrinklier as you get older,
Yeah, or just put on the glass with the mustache and the big ass nose.
Exactly.
See, there you go.
They're not thinking hard enough about this. They're stupid, these 6,000-year-old people.
I know.
What? I forgot what I was going to say.
No, you're good.
I just opened my mouth and nothing came out.
It's a fly.
Yeah, just a fish skeleton.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. Where do we go from here?
Up.
We do go up. Everything's up from here.
Yeah. Banger movie.
It is a banger.
I think the most brutal hit. Who was it? It was either Andy or Nikki or Joe. They grabbed a dude. Mm-hmm. And they like suplexed him, but onto his neck.
Yes, it's the kind of the heavy.
Yeah.
His name's like Keenan or something.
Yeah.
And I looked up that actor. Oh man, I can't remember his name now. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Oh really?
He's like a French guy.
Oh.
But I think he was like an MMA fighter and something else.
Damn.
Yeah, he's like been in stuff. But yeah, he gets real brutal. There's also a moment, and I do kind of laugh at this every time it happens, where somebody is made to shoot themselves. It happens right at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a shotgun, and I think it's Andy. She like grabs him and then shoots him with his own shotgun. Which is just such a disrespectful way to kill somebody.
It really is.
You'd be like, damn, in your last moments. Be like, oh shit.
Oh well. It was a good run.
Feels like getting teabagged.
Yeah.
It's just like an insult to injury.
Yeah.
I think Andy's axe is a really cool
God, I love that
focal point. Like, it's just a great, very unique, like, signature weapon for somebody to have. Yeah, I don't know. It's just solid.
Yeah.
It's also one of those movies where it's like, this is a perfect Sunday afternoon movie.
Yes.
Where it's like, you're on the couch, you just had breakfast, you got nothing going on. You might have vacuum later, but that's about it. You're on the couch, and you're like, what do I do? I'm going to turn this on, watch it for 2 hours. Hey, look at that, I'm done. Now I got to go to bed,
Yep.
That's what this movie is.
Yeah.
I don't know why you turn into the guy from The Sopranos in the middle of it, but you do.
There you go.
You're watching this movie, and then all of a sudden, it's gabagool, I've never seen it. I don't know. Yeah.
I think the one person we talked about it briefly, but the villain.
Oh, yes. Dudley.
Dudley. He's a good villain.
He is a good villain.
He's, like, shitty. He just is like the worst because he doesn't care about anybody or anything. He just cares about money. And I think they did a really good job about not going too far into experimenting on all these people.
Yes.
Because then if they did, they would have to then say, well, here's what we found.
Right.
And so keeping the whole, like, why are they like this? They did a really good job with that.
And I think, too, it's a good choice for a villain because I think he's supposed to be kind of loosely based on like Martin Shkreli, and you know who that is? He's he's the diabetes drug guy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember it happened? This was many years ago. For anybody who doesn't know, he was this dude. He was the first pharma bro.
Yeah.
And he famously helped. I don't remember if he helped to develop it or if he just bought the company that developed it. Like a very necessary diabetes drug.
Yeah.
He cornered the market on it, and then he jacked up the price to where it was like almost unattainable. Like it was like $50 for a single dose or something like that. And he actually got sued and lost, and then he went to prison.
Nice.
A side note about him, I don't know why I know this. Number one, he was ranked as the most hated man in America a couple of times, which, big dub. He's got a very punchable face if you've ever seen a picture of him.
The fuck is
Look
his
up
name?
Martin Shkreli.
Martin Shkreli.
I don't know how to spell Shkreli.
Martin Shkreli. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, very punchable face. Yeah, he sucks. But a little side note about him. There is a Wu-Tang Clan album that was produced. I think it's mostly like B-sides and demos that were never released. That was printed onto a solid gold record. They only ever made one of them. And it was put up at auction, and Martin Shkreli bought it. And so he owned for a long time this insanely rare Wu-Tang album that's worth like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, very recently, the Wu-Tang Clan sued him as like a breach of, I can't remember what it was, like whatever. And I think they won and are going to get that album back, which I'm very happy about. Because I don't want that guy to own that album.
Hell no. Fuck no.
I should own it.
Exactly. Let's see, yeah. So he got sentenced to 7 years in prison. That's way too short. He got sentenced 7 years with the possibility of parole because he was paroled after 6 years and 5 months.
Yeah.
And a $7.4 million in fines. Bro, give that bitch life.
Yeah, honestly.
He has a YouTube.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff.
And the genres of his YouTube are investing in finance.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's pivoting to grifting. You know, he's just,
Yeah.
He's one of those dudes who's like, if you want to be rich like me, all you got to do is not go to Starbucks, or whatever.
Here's a pyramid scheme. Join it and you'll be rich.
And convince all your friends to do it until you have no friends.
Yeah.
But you don't need friends because now you're rich.
Yeah.
Just
you can
kidding.
Just buy friends.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Martin Shkreli.
Yeah, that guy sucks. But anyway, I think the villain in this is sort of loosely based on him because he is this like pharma bro.
Yeah.
Like he talks big talk about like, oh, we're doing research to save lives. But then his real motivation is like, I just want to make a shit ton of money. Like that's just, I'm very obvious about this. I just want to make money.
Yeah. When because they were like, it's our moral obligation to, this will help so many people. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You dick weasel.
Well, because even then, and I think they do a good job of like ramping up his like cartoonish villainy because they're like, oh, well, you got what you need. You can let them go. And he's like, no.
Silly.
He's like, my competitors might find them or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, you guys had a pretty hard time. I don't think the competitors are going to have any easier of a time.
No.
But I do like at the end that he thinks he stands a chance against a 6,000-year-old warrior.
Yeah.
Who maybe she can die, maybe she can't, and
a U.S. Marine.
And he looks like he's never even shot a water pistol.
Yeah, he's standing there with his axe. He's like, "I'm gonna get you." And this 6,000-year-old being who's been considered a god for part of her life.
Yeah,
and then an actual military trained U.S. Marine are standing there like, is this guy for real right now?
So one thing I was thinking about, because Andy talks about how she doesn't believe in God, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you were 6,000 years old, right, you are literally existing proof of the supernatural.
Yeah.
I feel like that would push you in a like holy direction.
Yeah.
even if you didn't believe in the Catholic God,
Yeah.
I would be like, well, obviously there's something, because look at me, you know?
Something's going on.
I'd be like, maybe it's me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I always wonder, like, if I ended up ever being that old,
Yeah.
would I start to believe in God?
I don't know.
It's
hard to say.
Yeah, it's a fascinating movie to start thinking about theology and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's also fun to just watch that little weasel get thrown out a window.
That's true. I was going to make a really crass joke, but I'm going to keep it to myself.
Do it.
I was going to say, I only start believing in God when I when I nut, but she keeps sucking.
Nice.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah,
I'll cut that out.
That's funny.
Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
That's funny.
Anyway.
If you do cut it out, sorry, everybody.
Sorry, everybody.
Missed out on a grade A joke. It was funny.
Anyway, I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No. It's just a good movie.
It is a good movie. You can watch it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Love it. Caress it.
Live it.
Live it.
Make sweet, sweet love to it.
Sweet, sweet, romantic, queer love to it.
If nothing else, just go watch. Just look up like Old Guard's Nikki and Joe monologue.
Yeah. Or just watch a compilation of their scenes, because they're great.
Oh my god, they're so good.
They're probably the best part of the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is so good is because the director, Gina Price Bythewood, or Bythewood, she mostly has directed romantic comedies. So she directed this kind of cult classic movie called Love and Basketball, which is like I don't know, I've never seen it, but it's like a romantic comedy about love and basketball.
You don't say.
Yeah. So I think she's good at like the romance stuff.
Yeah.
And she obviously knows her way around the action scenes as well. So, yeah, it's just, it's solid. It's just a plucky, solid movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of solid, what would you give this a solid rating of? Bitch.
Jerk.
Aww.
If you don't get that reference, good.
Yeah. Is that a Supernatural reference?
It is.
Okay, I thought so. That spin-off podcast is coming, everybody. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Bro, if we did a Supernatural podcast, I would enjoy it. It probably would get me to watch the last season of that fucking show.
You don't have to.
I don't ever.
You haven't seen it, huh?
No.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, I've watched the first half and then I didn't watch the second half because I found out how Dean died and I was like, that's stupid. And then the car goes to heaven, killing myself. Like,
we'll save this for that podcast.
yeah. All right, right.
I forgot the car goes to heaven.
It's probably for the best you
All right, look,
forget
I'm going to spoil something about the last episode of Supernatural. Don't listen to this if you don't care. But, so, when that episode airs, right?
Yeah.
And spoilers for it. So, Dean is killed on a hunt, right? Which I don't hate. That's a whatever. But the part that I hated is we then see the rest of Sam's life, right?
God.
But it's told in sort of like a montage.
Yeah.
And it's a real shitty montage. And they don't do enough old man makeup on Sam to make it believable.
Yeah.
Like there's this scene where we see him and he's like walking, into the barn and baby is there, right? And he like pulls the thing off and he's like looking over it. And he's got the most atrocious gray wig on. Like it doesn't even look like his real hair. It looks like a fucking Halloween, like Albert Einstein wig.
They got it at Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, but they've done nothing else to him to make him look old. He's just 40-year-old Jared Padalecki wearing a gray wig with his fucking young man hands. And then when he's supposed to be a real old man, they do the same thing. They put like a bald cap on him or whatever. But the rest of him is 40. So he doesn't look old.
Yeah.
He's just regular Jared Padalecki looking like he's in an SNL skit. And then he dies.
How does he die? Just old
Old age. And he goes to heaven, and then the car's in heaven, and so is Dean, and then they just go on a drive, and that's how it ends.
It's the shittiest series finale ever.
It's really awful.
Oh, and then Cass goes to super gay hell.
Yeah, he goes to gay hell. Because fuck that guy, I guess. Oh, and fucking, what's his name? Satan's son gets to be new god.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it ends. Because the plot of the final... We're way off track. The final season...
I need to know this.
The plot is, that God has turned on them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to find a way to kill God. Because God is killing all the alternate dimensions and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they figure out at the end that... What's his name?
Jack.
They figure out that Jack... Because literally in the final season, there is nobody left on Earth. It is Sam and Dean and Jack, Satan and Michael. That's it, right? And they figure out that Jack has turned into, like, a power absorber. And so he can absorb, like, whatever, just blasts of whatever. It's something that Cass did with the nothing or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
It doesn't matter. Anyway... Oh, and also God and the darkness merge and become one being, right? I don't know.
That feels like incest, first of all.
Yes, it does.
I don't like that.
I'm sure there's a crack about it at some point. Anyway, the end result is Jack gets God to beat him up, right?
Yeah.
And then he absorbs all of God's powers, which doesn't make an ounce of sense. And then Jack becomes new God, just is God now. And then he, like, banishes old God to be, like, a wandering, like, hermit who just walks around being crazy. And then Jack is God now. But he doesn't change anything. He's not like, oh, since I'm God, there's not going to be any devils or whatever. He's just like, no, I'll keep the devils.
What happens to Lucifer and Michael?
They die. Because you think Lucifer is going to be, like, cool.
Yeah.
And then he's not. He, like, tries to betray them, and he kills Michael. And then I think they kill Lucifer. It's stupid as fuck. It's honestly the worst season finale of all time.
And see, this is why I never fucking watched it.
Yeah.
Because it's ass.
It is ass. Anyway, what do you rate the old guard out of 10? Out of how many supernatural finales do you rate this movie? Keeping in mind, one supernatural finale is equal to negative points.
I have to give it like 1 billion then to get it out of the negative.
Just kidding. I don't know. Whatever you think.
I was gonna say probably like an 8.5.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I really like it. It's it doesn't blow me away by any means, but it's just a really solid movie.
It is. It's very solid. It's like a rock.
Yeah.
Like a river rock.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be in complete agreement.
Yeah?
No.
No.
I thought about it too hard. No, I'll give it like a...
We almost made out.
Yeah, I know. Almost. One day. 7.8.
7.8?
Yeah.
I respect it.
It's like... It is a very good movie.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
But those things that I pointed out, I can't ignore either.
Right.
Because I really do think... It's like things that, even though they are nitpicky...
Yeah.
would improve the movie.
Yes.
Like push it over the line for me personally.
That's fair.
But like the story I have no fault with.
Yeah.
The execution, the plot, the pacing, all that stuff is great.
Yeah.
I can't get over the music and the cinematography. They just
understandable.
It's just two things that I care about. But besides that, 7.8 out of 10.
I like it.
So that we're moving on to the next section of the show. We're doing a jig, jazz handsing it up to the next section of the show, which is
promoting our shit, like the shills we are.
Editor's picks.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, that comes first.
Yes.
What do you got? Unless you got to think about it.
You know what? So I went and I saw the new Inside Out movie.
Oh, very cool.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It is. I was quite. So I have so with sequels, it's real hit or miss, right? I basically compare every sequel to Shrek 2 because
the perfect sequel.
Because it is.
Yeah.
It's literally the perfect sequel.
No, I agree with you.
It's so good. And so every other sequel that I watch, I'm like, well, is this as good as Shrek 2?
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And Inside Out 2 is not Shrek 2.
No.
But it's good. It's like it is surprising. Like I went in, I didn't really have any expectations. I was just like, all right, this is just going to be kind of like a goofy, Pixar Disney film. And it actually is really good. Okay. So if you were a fan of the first one, I highly recommend going and watching Inside Out 2. It's I obviously I know it's not for everybody, and there are gonna be people like, oh, it's a kids movie. You shut the fuck up and get over yourself. Yeah. All right, eat shit.
Yeah. Just a big pile of shit.
It's like I said, it's good. If you got spare time, you want to go hang out with your friends or whatever. It's lighthearted enough that you're gonna have fun, but it also hits on some bigger. Just like coming of age issues that, especially if you're like younger, they hit home.
Oh yeah,
they hit hard, and so, I'll say Inside Out 2.
That's on my list of things. I do want to see that.
It's pretty good.
I'm gonna divert from what I normally recommend. Mm-hmm. I normally recommend an action film.
Yeah.
I've been doing enough of that lately, so I'm gonna recommend a movie that just came out. Since we're talking about Netflix. This movie that just came out on Netflix not too long ago. It's called Hitman.
I think I heard about this.
Yes. It is not... So I was sort of tricked. I went into it not knowing anything about it, sort of thinking it might be like a... I don't know. Like a Hitman movie. Like like a... Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not. It is a straight-up romantic comedy. It's got sort of a black comedy feel to it. It stars Greg Powell.
Nice.
Who is his name Greg Powell? I think his name's Greg. Hold on. Everybody just hold on.
I'm holding on.
Glenn Powell. I was close.
Glenn Powell. There you go.
He's sort of Hollywood's golden boy at the moment, but he's very good in this. He plays like a police informant who he's like a philosophy teacher during the day, but he sort of moonlights as like he starts like acting as a fake hitman. So he's like he poses as a hitman to get people to like try to hire him, and then they can arrest them. People who solicit whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he starts playing that character, but then he like accidentally falls in love with one of the people who solicits a hitman from him. And so it's kind of fun. It's got like he takes on like a bunch of different personas and plays a bunch of different characters.
Nice.
It's just good. It's a good, fun, kind of cute little movie. I don't know. One of my secret loves is like I like a little movie. I like a little movie that's just a little story
it's
about
just like a little guy.
Like two guys. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
Not everything's big and whatever for me. Sometimes
grandiose.
I just like a little movie about a guy who lives in a town. Sometimes that's enough.
Yep.
But anyway, that's it for me.
Hell yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, thanks. Anyway, that's the end of the show.
Yeah, it is.
So it's the part of the show where you get to tell me what the listener should do.
They should go rate and give stars and shit.
Yes.
Give us 5 stars.
5 stars.
Or however many is the most of them.
The most of the stars.
If you're listening and or watching on the tubes, the tubes of views.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
You can also leave us little reviews on Spotify and all the other podcasting platforms. Podbean.
Amazon Podcasts.
Yeah.
Listen notes.
There you go.